is no sin. He has agreed to aim high is no sin, but we need to go our lives in a gradual phase. I mean, it's like somebody just registers as an undergraduate and he wants to get a graduate certificate. But he has to go graduate. There's nothing wrong with desiring, a graduate certificate. But if you want it immediately and you don't want to work for it, that would be a disservice to your own service to yourself, to your family, and to the community. Because you may resort to some other illicit or illegal means to try to acquire your supposed goal. And therefore, we need to decide as spiritual practitioners that we don't have to nail desires, that we can dovetail the desires in the devotional service of the Lord. And the illicit desires will become purified of that. Look at the case of Kubja. Kubja was wanting to have fun with Krishna. It's a hunchback lady, but she was so much lost after Krishna that, she has to create some access to be able to reach out to him. But, eventually she got purified. Krishna didn't bless him, he turned to a very beautiful lady by Krishna's touch on her back. So we have, typical cases where Krishna even does not condemn material desires. It is mentioned in Sastra, in the Bible specifically, that Krishna said, Sara Kama, Kama, Moksha Kama, Uddhara, Tivina Bhakti Yoga. So, again, the dovetailment in Bhakti Yoga, that Krishna is invited, that whatever desires we have, we should just come to him. And this is essentially what a number of us have been involved in. We have a number of desires. And we sought for some, way through or headway by coming to Krishna. So the point is to have a desire in itself is not a bad thing. How we go about trying to prosecute that desire, that is a problem. Because the human body is an embodiment of desires. If we don't have desires, we wouldn't have taken birth as humans. We wouldn't have found ourselves in the material world. We wouldn't have found ourselves on this planet. And so based on our desires, our cumulative desires, we are created a particular body. We are born into a particular environment. We are born into a particular country, into particular families. We have a particular type of structure, etc. And so, who can change this? As human beings, we are imbued with activities. And these activities are facilitated by the working senses and the knowledge acquiring senses. And so, except we don't have a human being, then we say we'll be devoid of desires. Otherwise, it's so difficult to say we don't have desires. Anybody who tells you that they don't have a desire, then perhaps either they're in the mode of joking or they don't know what he's talking about. Yeah. So, the bottom line is how to purify these desires. And devotional service helps us to purify these desires. It's sometimes also, in our movement, we have people who just tell other people, oh, what you're doing, this is material desire, this is not required, that is not required. But again, everything could be dovetailed in the service of the Lord. And whatever skills you have could also be dovetailed in the service of the Lord. And sometimes we met people, I remember my personal assistant in Washington, D.C., he has a PhD in ecology, 2 masters, one in public health and one in agriculture. And so he's a scientist at Columbia District in Maryland, Washington area. And now, he is also a captain in the U.S. Army. And so what happened was that when he was doing his undergraduate studies, he felt he had a misconception that what he was pursuing, studies he was pursuing was a material desire. And so he went to meet the temple president, adjacent. The temple was just adjacent to his university. So he went to meet the temple president to give him his studies and then become a full-time devotee. So the temple president said, over my dead body. The Trump president told him, over my dead body. In other words, not here. He said, you have to finish your studies. We need your skills more than you can think of. So this misconception could be there. But now, he's got a PhD, he has 2 masters, and he's having, besides his busy schedule, he finds time to come and give Sunday class at Washington Temple. He finds time to come and dress Prabhupada on Saturdays. And himself and his wife, they have time to go to the altar to do some service and cook and all these things. And anywhere he goes, he can speak. He can convince people. Even in the military, he has convinced so many people because his colleagues, they see him as like someone who is not from this planet. Because why? He has a PhD and all of these skills, and he's also a captain in the U.S. Army, and he doesn't do this, he doesn't do this, he doesn't womanize like other soldiers, he doesn't smoke and drink and all this, and so they look at him like, this is a strange guy among us. And very quickly he got so much of promotion, because, even in the military, you have, there are all these rules about illicit sex, okay? Having an affair with somebody other than your wife. In the U.S., it's a big thing. I know one guy, he had 4 people. A big general. He went down the cliff. They got him sacked from his job. Why? Because he had a girlfriend. And that was a general, someone who was leading troops in this country. One of these warring countries. And he just went down the cliff. Just within a moment. That is the United States. So, matter of desires, illicit desires. So if we have illicit desires means we want to jump the gun. There's a constitution, a national constitution, there are criminal codes, and there are road traffic edicts. But we want to flout these constitutional norms. And so we get apprehended. Now, this is the workings of the mind. This is the workings of lust. In fact, Arjuna asked Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asked Krishna, what is it that forces people to act against their better judgment? As if forced to sin. Sometimes it's like someone is being pushed to do illicit stuff. And then they finish, they say, oh, I'm sorry. They go to court and they say, oh, I'm guilty with reason. Well, there's nothing like guilty with reason. You're guilty means you're guilty. So in a similar way, our spiritual development could also be truncated by illicit desires. I give you a typical example. Okay, you're lying down and you don't believe he just said that you're going to wake up at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock or whatever. So he sets up an alarm to wake you up at a particular time. The alarm becomes your contingency plan. If your idea to wake up by yourself fails, you have an option B. That is going to work. Now, the option B may ring, and you still just stretch your hand, and then you just, switch it off. Don't disturb me. My body is weak today. I am sick. The mind tells us so many things, and the tendency is to accept what the mind says. This is simply due to being impaired by low self-control. In other words, low emotional intelligence. And therefore, for us to become purified of all of these unnecessary, undesirable situations, undesirable desires. Why is it undesirable desire? Because this is what is going to help us to pave through with all of these horrible walks of life. But even the means of getting out from the problem, we don't want to align with it, so we put up the alarm. We now want to worship the body. The body tells us, I'm sick today. Come on, just sleep, just sleep, just sleep. So yeah, if we nurse that aspiration, it could truncate our very ultimate goal of becoming Krishna conscious. Therefore, the mind creates so much of unnecessary desires. The senses are always dictated to us. But the way forward is not about just separately struggling on how to become desireless. No one can become desireless. It is just that there are illicit desires. And if we are approaching Krishna for sustainable connection, then we dovetail, using the words of Prabhupada, we dovetail our desires in the service of the Lord. The Lord will purify us, and He will know what is best for us and will place us in the proper position. But then the essential point is that the devotional service is all pure, and if we have something nagging our heads, we are affected by some, desires, unwanted desires. The desires are practically going to be unwanted because, according to the theory of economy, that we have our wants, they just keep flowing like a rivulet. They keep flowing into our consciousness. But we have to filter it. And it is devotional service that help us to filter it. We can check these desires by relating these desires onto the check and balance system of Guru, Sadhu, and Sastra. Because the mind will always tell us, the mind will always try to victimize us. Because the mind knows our weaknesses more than we know for hundreds and billions of lifetimes. The same mind that we have been carrying since we entered into tribulations. The difference is just the different bodies, different locations that we have been taken there. The mind is the same. Therefore, the mind knows, and so many things are embedded on the mind. Subtle things are embedded on the mind. And so, based on our exposition, those subtle suppressed desires will pop up like a balloon. You press a balloon in the river, and you leave it, eventually to pop up. So this is what happens. And therefore, if we conscientiously purify the mind, these unwanted desires could become quickly purified. I mean, it's like Dhruva. Dhruva wanted a kingdom greater than that of his grandfather or great-grandfather. Not to speak of his father's kingdom. But when Dhruva met with Vishnu, due to his determination, intense determination in meditation, Vishnu asked him, yes, what can I do for you? Dhruva already had become purified. He said, I was looking for broken bottles, but I've seen gold. I don't need broken bottles. He said, I don't need anything. That was somebody who went to the forest to seek for revenge, to seek for help, to have an empire that is greater than anyone else that you can think of. So this is the beauty of encountering higher principles of life, or encountering the Lord, encountering the devotees of the Lord, encountering devotional service. We get purified. And the anarchists that are not going to, that really could create so much of impediment on our spiritual progress. It could either be purified or could be, excavated, or we get extricated from the charcoals of these unwanted desires. And therefore, devotional service is the watchword. The typical case is the case of Dhruva. He had so many unwanted things that are not really that we are not in a position to help him to excel in his spiritual adventure. So again, Krishna gave him what he initially wanted. He also awarded him a higher devotional culture. And therefore it is important for us to know that the very idea that we are nursing, different type of insinuations in our lives, it could also create a setback in our material pursuits and in our material, in our spiritual development. But at the same time, by aligning with Krishna's instructions that anyone is free to come to him, whether we are full of material desires, we are free from material desires. Krishna said we can always approach him. And what do? Engage in devotional service. So, your case is a very challenging situation because you have to do what basically I will call integration of constitutional and conditional duties. And these are the words of Prabhupada in the 12th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, when he was mentioning that we should integrate our constitutional duties with our conditional duties. In other words, our secular pursuits. I understood a number of you use quoted. And so it's important for us to understand that this is a very great challenge in trying to mitigate the unwanted desires. We have to, at the same time, integrate the constitutional activities and constitutional duties, means sadhana bhakti, and conditional duties, means secular obligations, secular pursuits. But I tell you, when you perform this integration nicely, the results, you'll be happy. Keep in mind that integration is a very difficult subject matter in calculus. How many of you are doing mathematics? Anybody here is doing mathematics as a fourth degree? Okay, but you know.
In high school, yeah.
Huh?
High school we did.
Yeah, that's a simple one.
It's very difficult also.
It's a very difficult one. If you're doing calculus in university, then you know what I'm talking about. In calculus is very difficult, but integration in calculus, even those who sign up for the course, sometimes they get really, because it's so abstract, and they get really too confused and they walk out of the class. They don't want to model their brains too much with abstract subject matter. But we need integration to survive. If we want to become spiritual warriors, we need integration of the constitutional and the conditional duties. And that will expedite the process of purifying our desires. Something that is difficult does not mean that it's not going to be beneficial. In fact, going to school is not an easy thing. Some people choose not to go to school because they don't find it very easy, if even they have all of the resources available. And so, the bottom line is that, yes, it is very difficult. If someone tells you it's not difficult to integrate secular obligations with spiritual adventures, then they have not tried it. Because if you do try it, you see that it's very challenging. But that challenging situation is what helps to purify the mind and the senses in an exponential way. So if you're someone who has not been intensifying their sadhana, you try it. I mean, get a wake-up call now. Because if you simply get on this two-way, see, a train, I don't know what the train situation is here, but in the United States, the train, I prefer to go by train than go and fly by air, because the train is very comfortable. The big seats, you can walk in the coaches or back and forth. But in the plane, it's just tied up there. But the train is expensive. In some cases, it's more expensive than flying. But people choose to go by train because they have relaxed motion. And therefore, yeah, it might be expensive, but it gives you so much of freedom to be able to do certain things as you're traveling. And so, in our earthly journey also, we may say, well, integrating spiritual and material is very difficult. But this is the recommendation that is there if we really want to survive. Not only to survive, but if we want to excel in our lives. Nothing good that comes easy. There is one African musician who, his name is Bongo Sikwe. He said one of his tracks, he mentioned that there is nothing good that comes easy. And so, yeah, if we have to strive for perfection, and at the same time want to develop skills to be able to sustain our material and spiritual pursuits, then the challenge is on us. But we have to understand that whatever we need to do, we have to recline on Krishna, recline on the process of devotional service. And it becomes easy for all of these unwanted perturbations, agitations of the mind and the senses to become purified. And we can become really stabilized in our devotional endeavor. The bottom line is that, yeah, we can have multiplicity of desires, but a simple way to purify this desire. I mean, it's like in the past, the government, various governments who have been very much hammering, talking about HIV/AIDS. And no one is really giving a vivid solution to it. They come with, what do you call it?
ARVs.
Whatever, there's so many things, but they're not talking about the root of the problem. Illicit sex. Because people cannot deal with it. They think that, no, you cannot control no, you cannot control that. But there's so many people in a woman, who have avoided sex for like 30 years, 40 years, and all 40. And they are happy, okay? It's not that they're feeling sad, where is sex, where is sex, where is sex? No, they're just happy. They are happier than the people who are engaged in it. I remember in Nigeria, I went to Nigeria. And then there was two journalists who came to interview me. And one of them was a young lady who just graduated from School of Journalism. And then, when they were interviewing me, after the interview, main interview, so this beautiful young lady, she said, excuse me, sir, can I ask you a personal question? I said, yes, feel free to ask any questions. She said that, excuse me, sir, I heard that you've been celibate for decades of years. Do you have blood? She couldn't believe that, a human being, okay? A human being after acquiring degrees, so many degrees, and publishing so much work in the academy, and established international scholar, and somebody. So yes, she asked me. I said, yes, I have blood like every other person. What really is helping us is a transcendental process, and this is Christian consciousness. See, people who have overwhelming desires that they took to drugs. They talk about the hippies, the potheads in the West, in New York, in California, in London. But this process of devotional service changed all of them, purified all of their desires. They became, sadhus, paramahamsas. And so, I will entreat that, we take the process of disintegration seriously, which begins with, seven mukhi jiva, service that is tongue can render is to chant Krishna's name and to take prasadam only. Because if we eat and eat anything outside, the senses become agitated. Why? Because the people who cook those foods, those grains, their consciousness is polluted. And their consciousness goes into the food. Grains. Not banana. Grains. So, if you ever think of eating something outside, and if you want to maintain spiritual equilibrium, you don't want more desires to come and weigh you down, then you just avoid any grains that is prepared by outside by non-devotees. Because those things, they come, and they simply, create a lot of subtle upheavals in our spiritual life. So one way to check, the influx of unnecessary agitations of the mind and the senses is to make sure that we are having proper association, especially with people who are free from this contaminated, what Brahma will call Avisuddha Buddha, impure intelligence, contaminated intelligence, contaminated consciousness, pathological state of consciousness. Because same people who have to cook the so-called vegetarian meals and give to people, and their consciousness goes into the food, and they imbibe that consciousness. So suppose the person is just someone who is just out looking for sex. So you also imbibe that consciousness to some degree. And then when you get agitated, then you begin to wonder, what's going on? I've been chanting Hare Krishna, all these years. What's going on? Yeah, is the subtle protein that we have injected or we have ingested. And so major theme is about eating, association, and self-regulation needs to be maintained. If we maintain self-regulation, then automatically we will be able to mitigate the agitations of the senses and the mind, giving rise to unwanted desires. If we don't embark on self-regulation, it could be a problem because we will not be focused on our daily activity. I'll give you an example. Now, modern psychologists are coming with research reports that the best hours for productivity is early in the morning. And that corresponds to our Brahma Muhurta hours. And so for those who use the Brahma Muhurta hours to chant Krishna's names, they get very quick response, and they also get very speedy development of higher consciousness and spiritual values. And again, it is also been reported that the best periods for rejuvenating the body after the day's hard work is between 10 and 12 in the night. And so if we could go to bed maybe before 10 or so, if we sleep for only those 2 hours, we'll see the difference between that and the previous days that we spend the whole night. And then some people spend the whole night and they go to bed at 4 o'clock. In other words, they go completely against the opposite direction. And you find that no matter how you work hard, you're not having concentration in terms of what you're doing. And sometimes even your retentive memory is not really enhanced. Because the whole senses and the whole sensory modalities and the brain become very much unstable, unsettled, unfocused, because we are going against the current. Just imagine, you have a river that the current is going like this, and you want to swim upstream. You know how much trouble you're going to make. So the senses and the mind, they are also like that. If we regulate the senses and the mind, we have a better chance to be able to properly integrate the spiritual and the material, and in that way we have a good opportunity to tame our desires. Are there any comments or questions? Yes, what's your name again? Govinda Pret. Yes.
Maharaj, sometimes when the mind is playing up, you're trying to neglect the mind. Is that a good solution?
The mind, if we try to neglect the mind, that's a good solution. That's a good way. But the mind will, reinforce and come back. I mean, it's like someone comes to you and tells you, hey, a policeman comes to you and says, we want you in the office. I want to find out something for you. Anytime you just ignore, you snub it. If he does not have sufficient equipment, he will call for reinforcement. The person is. So the mind is also like that. If you ignore the mind, just be ready for a showdown. And if you try to satisfy the mind, you're in trouble. So if we ignore the mind, we should know that it's going to come back reinforced, and we should stand firm to resist it. Yeah. No one can satisfy the mind. People try this sometimes. Over the years, people have tried it. No one has ever satisfied the mind. You tell me one person who has come, but all my desires fulfilled. I never found it. But at least people should get a leverage in their lives. They should have a state of affairs where they have good means of livelihood, good attention to their needs. But if we think that we're just going to, everybody's going to become the president of Kenya, it's not possible. Therefore, we have to see how we are not going overboard with, desire. High end, obviously, there's no sin. But we have to see how much money we have if we are looking for a Mercedes car. We have to check how much money we have in the bank, in our bank account. If we don't have money that could fetch a Volkswagen when you're looking for Mercedes, that would be that would not be a very practical approach to our situation. Yeah. So, neglecting the mind, ignoring the mind. The mind is the only person you have a right to emotionally abuse. Ignore, snobbing. Like a child who comes and tries to shake you up. You just ignore him. So yes, to ignore the mind is a good deal. Every other person we emotionally abuse, they will call police for us. The mind, no. No police call. And you have a good way to be able to survive. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Who is the desire located in
who?
The desire, where is it located? Is it in the soul or in the mind?
But the desire flows like rivulets into the mind.
From the soul.
No, not the soul. See, the mind is where the activities are going on. And basically, what happens is that the soul is simply given a chance to be able to, revamp his spiritual consciousness. But the activities that are used, the body in performing, because it's inhabited in this body. I mean, it's like here, if you have a family, and then someone commits a crime in the family, it may be a child underage. First is you, the police officer is going to ask questions. This is how the soul is basically detached, but because it is this body that is causing the trouble, and therefore it is engaged here, and is awarded again another chance. like what we say, innocent victim. But it's like, again, when you use a particular jacket to go and commit a crime, the police, the law enforcement agents are not going to come after the jacket. Someone use the jacket, okay? So it's the person who uses the jacket. The person who uses the jacket is the person that is sent to jail. But, our real problem is the mind. Yeah, the mind. The mind is the real problem. Because like we read in the morning, intelligence is also there, but sometimes intelligence is overcome by the mind, because the mind is like a younger brother with intelligence that is huge, hefty, powerful. Christians guys are stubborn, obstinate. Yeah, so and also the super soul is just watching. There's nothing that people really do that goes unchecked. But again, it doesn't imply that there should not be a police system. There should be a police system, otherwise, people will just be killing each other. But then it will protract the chain of repeated death and death. So the state police system is there to help to ameliorate a situation that is very much deteriorating. But it doesn't mean that if someone is put to jail, then it is free from material desires or free from criminal desires. That's not the case. We only become free from criminal intentions by the purification of the mind, and according to the general theory of crime, what is the major cause of crimes and antisocial behavior is lack of the ability to control ourselves, low self-control. And that comes with what? Like Rupa Goswami mentions in Rupa Samrita, that when we are able to conquer the mind, intelligence, anger, all of these type of things, Vashvega, Manasakota Vega, Jiva Vega, Vodhava Pasvega, Etam Vega, Yoga Sahita, Jiva Sava, Atman, Prishadi Sasasha. When we conquer all of these inordinate demands, the urge to speak hogwash, the urge to eat everything, every and anything, the urge to speak any type of things to hurt people, and then they get some, the breeze of some reactions, and then it takes two to make a fight. Anger, the belly, the genitals, so all of this type of urges, if we are able to conquer it, we can rule the whole world. This is a simple formula how to become a global leader. Yeah, so we have to play our part, and we should not just be docile. That's the important thing. We should be actively trying to revamp our consciousness, and become who become stabilized in devotional practice. And, it becomes like a bullet in their account. The mechanism, your agitation mechanism, but it will not really affect you. It will just fall down like you put on a bulletproof, and some shots come, they just fall down. It's not that the shots will not come. Maybe they won't penetrate into the body. Any other comments? Okay. Yeah.
Okay. I want to ask, how long can it take, if you can estimate, to change the negative thinking pattern?
Oh, how long can it take? The negative thinking pattern, it differs with different people based on their different awareness or present consciousness and past state of affairs. And so we're not able to give a definite, information regarding the meta-cognitive time frame. The individuals differ. Druva, he became stabilized in 6 months. In 6 months. 6 years old boy, he became stabilized. So it depends on the intensity of the individual's devotion and the carryover of the pious credit from previous existence. And also the mercy of the spiritual master, the mercy of Krishna, the mercy of the devotee. You see, what happens is that we tend to neglect the people around us. But if we are having a good relationship with people around us, like your fellow devotees here, or your fellow students, if you are having some, harmonious relationship, these are the people who will even pray on your behalf to Krishna. Oh, help this guy. He's working so hard, he's so nice. But if we hurt people around us, our ability to get over with these horrible thoughts could be protracted. So first thing, we have to realize that the ball is in our court, and we cannot make it alone. We need the mercy of the Vaishnavas. We need the mercy of the spiritual master. We need the mercy of Krishna.
And then, to respond on that, in case you achieve it, now will it become a default in your mind, or will it be a lifelong struggle to maintain that?
No, it will not become a lifelong struggle, because it's like if you are flying in the air, you just need to fuel your plane properly, and then you keep flying. If you are flying from here to London, you just put your target amount of fuel gas that is needed in the airplane. So if you are sustaining your Krishna consciousness, it becomes your default. Yeah. It is when we neglect spiritual life that we can become monkeys again. Sometimes people have that tendency. I remember the case in the US. So there was a couple that got married, and they checked their compatibilities. They were 95% plus compatible. So that means that it could result in real sustainable marriage. But then the lady neglected her sadhana because she felt goal is achieved, got a husband to 95%. Woo! For life, be together. So she neglected her chanting. She was not taking the chanting seriously again, and the senses went wild. And she became attracted to one guy. She had sex with the person, and the husband got to know that was the end of the marriage. So, if we neglect our spiritual sadhana just because we have attained some particular status, trouble can come. So we have to sustain our spiritual sadhana. That's it. Yes? Alright, so in the absence of any other stop, and just in case you're feeling shy to ask, some people naturally, they feel shy to ask questions in the public. Just in case you're feeling shy to ask questions, feel free. This Swami is also on social media. I'm also on Facebook. So you can contact me, Bhakti Vasudeva Swami. And, ask any questions you want to ask. And I'm also, incidentally, an academic, doing my doctoral research, PhD research in leadership, organizational change and war in the United States. And so, feel free. I did my master's in philosophy and education, so I'm a philosopher and educator. Again, you feel free to contact me. If it is also just even based on your academic proclivities, we may be able to help you someday. All right?
Hare Krishna, I would like to thank Maharaj by chanting everybody. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Maharaj, you give the talk tomorrow also?
What?
Tomorrow evening, yeah.
I don't think so because I'm doing it early in the morning the next day. There's some things out of work.
Okay. So, thank you very much, Maharaj, for coming and spending time with us.
My pleasure.
So, as Bhakti